I don't want to miss any hot like Homelander and my daddy action.
There you go.
I'd like to promote Great Notion beer.
Oh, right out of the gate.
Great
You got a
Notion
sponsor.
Brewery. They make the best beer in America right now. Got the best thing going. I'm drinking Overripe. Great Notion. Throw us like $5 and like maybe like a 4-pack and some of those sweet, like a sweater.
Hold on.
Those
Is it
sweaters
an
are cool.
IPA?
You and I both know it's an IPA, but
You can keep
it's
a
a
goddamn
hazy
grapefruit
IPA. Hold
drink.
on. It's a hazy IPA brewed with mangosteen. It's delightful. It's like the one Michelle drinks, Sylvia will drink. Like people we know that don't like IPAs will drink it.
This guy.
So yeah, you would. I think you would enjoy it.
See, the
You
hard
hear
thing
that?
is that it's so good that all their flavors are sold out. Whether you're thinking about the Great Notion Big Papaya or the Great Notion
It's true.
DDH Plump, they're all sold out. So
It's true.
act quickly and get your subscription to taste some of the best craft beers you can have from the West Coast.
Be sure to download the app. If you're in California, you can now actually have it shipped to your door. There's
Did they
so
give us
many
a
to
code,
choose
too?
from.
Yeah,
I feel like
whether you
we
want
should get a discount code.
whether you want Great Notion Modern Times, Ruse Brewing, sorry everyone, or even Great Notion Cellar Maker.
No, it's a live read. Stuff
Yeah,
like
what
that
have
happens.
you.
It's all good.
That's perfect. All right, this is good practice for if we ever get a sponsor. This is strong. All
All
right,
right,
now
that was
let's talk about Hydrox, who is
mean,
my
you've-
Lord and Savior.
You've had the great notion to have that beer.
Ooh.
Ken, marketing. Sales is wrong. It's marketing is where you need to be.
There you go.
Yeah.
See,
You gotta be the man behind the man.
there you
Yeah.
go. See, like me, I'm more of a. There's a couple different breweries that are here, and some of them have like an ecto cooler one.
Mountain
and I'm
Dew's
like,
not a brewery.
no. It's a craft beer, and they have an ecto cooler version. And I'm like,
Ooh.
I try to like, does this one do that? Did they get fancy? They're a little more in the fruit side. They got that pineapple tangerine passion fruit
Yeah.
for the fruit monster. Like that's right on that line. Like you get
Bottle
pretty
the
Logic?
tangerine. What's up?
Bottle Logic?
Bottle Logic, yeah, that's one. But the Great Notion Fruit Note Monster has that pineapple tangerine, and tangerine is
yes.
that key flavor for Ecto Cooler.
It's true.
Who does the tangerine thing? Who was the actor?
The size of a tangerine.
Oh, the size
size.
of a tangerine.
There we go.
Size of a tangerine.
They should just add that at the end of each commercial.
Any beer that has tangerine in it, they need to get Michael Caine to do it.
Yes,
I agree.
That's it.
Michael.
He's not doing anything else. He's kind of half retired. It's fine.
He's been half retired for about 20 years. All right. So we are gathered here today to get our butts kicked in by Ken, who I know has all the answers.
Someone who
to the questions.
actually has knowledge about
I mean,
Ghostbusters and isn't
I-
just
Let
let me
flying
get-
off at the handle like us.
when we need to, we can we consult the good book, the Tobin
Ooh.
Spirit Guide, so that we can address these answers and let you know what your Class 5 apparition is, or a Class 7 free roaming spirit.
Ooh, what is the difference?
Well, the Class 5 is far less malevolent, and far less destructive, but still is destructive. It also can cause far more damage than a Class 7. But yeah,
Okay.
this was the special edition. It comes in green normally. It came as a special edition in red for a loot crate type of thing, if I remember correctly. That's what that is.
Well,
But you can find
we're
yours
gonna need
online.
that book. We're gonna need that
Yeah.
book because as I was editing our last one, we had a discussion about 13 Ghosts, and I want to know what their class levels are.
Well, 13
they were
Ghosts isn't
ranked-
part of. I mean, I agree. It's funny that you
I think
mentioned
it'd be
that 'cause
kind of fun.
I actually do have a weird soft spot for 13 Ghosts. I thought it was like a fun
Yeah.
movie at the time.
100%.
Agreed. Fun,
So it's
not good.
All she wants to do is shower, guys. All she wants to do is shower in a big glass
And
house. In
I
front of her
was gonna say, I
family.
love that everyone
That's
didn't
it.
worry about having walls or privacy at all, just because they were that poor. The poor don't care about privacy. That was the bottom line of that movie. But yeah, I just
Or-
want to see if we could apply the class levels to those ghosts, because remember they were ranked by like their number, about how violent they were. But I mean, they were all violent.
no,
all
they were-
murderers.
I don't know if they're ranked.
diddly
They-
murderers.
They were
Yeah,
just,
because remember they were
they
like
were numbered, but
but wasn't the main big guy with the pinhead bolts and stuff or whatever? Wasn't he like the last one that they had to get because he was the most dangerous one? He was like picking people up and breaking their backs and stuff.
yeah, but that's just because he was because they were depending on what their story was. That was more of a like
Or was
And
the mom was the last one?
yeah, because the mom was like she's the last spirit they needed. Like that was the one from that what's his face Monk. that he was like, "Oh no, my
Tony
wife,
Shalhoub.
Tony Shalhoub." Michael
Sounds like a
Bay's
shampoo.
Splinter. So yeah.
That was the one thing you got right.
So just so you know, I did look up a quick 13 ghost characters. I don't remember all of them outside of like the hammer and the jackal.
I remember the girl,
but it's not
The
based on a
Juggernaut.
true story. Just a heads up, not based on a true story. Per se,
Not?
is
All
the
right,
movie
shut
13
this
Ghosts
pod
based?
down.
We're done.
Shut it down.
All right,
Shut
but
it down.
we gotta focus on the poor job Kareem and I did reviewing Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Hey, this
even
is a
though
tangent,
it's
and we're
just-
going down this road first.
All right. Tangify. The firstborn
well-
son. Could the Ghostbusters capture him?
What
Which
did the
I-
firstborn son do?
Yeah, I need
I forgot.
visual representation. I'm
In life, the ghost described as the firstborn son was overindulged and spoiled kid named Billy Michaels, which is always just the most generic. Like you name a kid Billy, he's not a real kid.
Well, your two
why
first
the
names
Blue
are
Ranger
gonna be a
didn't
serial
exist.
killer.
Same tomato. Billy's unhealthy obsession with Indians and cowboys led to him always carrying on like one. That's weird.
What does that mean?
Okay. The result of this obsession was the death of Billy at the hands of another kid who had challenged him to a duel. Whereas Billy brought a cap gun to the duel, the other kid brought steel-tipped arrows and ultimately cut Billy's life short.
Jesus Christ.
He took an arrow to the head, guys. So this dumbass kid went,
well,
hey,
he's not
I'm gonna
dumb.
kick
He's
your ass.
his friend is a murderer.
he'd
So
at least
dumb.
I mean, given if we're gonna do a full Ghostbusters podcast, we need far more certified people than I. But from the classification within the Tobin Spear Guide, I believe he would be a class 4, because
Okay.
he does have an identity established, distinct human forms and personality, which are known to identify, such as General Custer or Cleopatra. So most of them are going to register as at least a class 4.
Okay.
Usually when you get kind of ectoplasmic residue, that's when you start to have a class 5. At least that's
I
the
think
way.
he has a little bit of that.
I think
Yeah.
they're all going to be class
don't-
4 then, except for
Uh,
the
well,
I don't
they
think.
all-
Yeah, I don't think
yeah,
he
he's
has
gonna be
residue
like
though, because
6,
none of them left anything on the windows.
I mean, there's a lot of blood all over.
That's human blood though. They
Yeah,
like,
but
passed
it's like
through, remember?
it's like their ghost blood. Ooh,
Well, no,
ghost
remember.
blood.
Well, I guess unless the windows had
Hey,
that
man.
writing on it, then they couldn't get
The
past
next
it.
ghost is the torso. So guess what? There's going to be ghost blood.
Okay. The torso.
The torso. This ghost presents as a torso severed from the head that is never far off. An accurate depiction of what happened to the owner the owner of the torso of the head. He was a bookie named Jimmy Gambino, nicknamed the Gambler. This literally, you cannot be more generic. He had a gambling addiction. I think we all know how this goes. He lost a boxing bet and couldn't pay up, so the mafia, sliced and diced.
Your last
him.
name is Gambino. How are you?
I call him Gambler. I must.
All right, I like that way more. Gambler is much better.
Who was cut down in his prime because he sucked.
I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat in Zoom so you guys can
Sure.
see what I'm looking at, and I don't have to share my screen so Kareem doesn't have to work around that.
Thank you. All right, who do we got next?
Oh my goodness.
Well, hold on. I think this would be class. I mean, he has a name, but he doesn't there's nothing really human. He's just like, oh, I'm a torso. Look at me.
Well, he was human.
La-dee-da. I guess. All right.
Yeah, I
fine.
guess so. Yeah. Next, the bound.
The
woman.
bound woman. Ugh, so depressing.
Yeah.
The ghost of the bound woman was a woman named Susan Legros. Legrow.
Yeah, I'm
Not
seeing
even
that too.
trying.
That's just weird.
Legros.
Uh-huh.
A beautiful high school girl who was aware of of her beauty and had a reputation for leaving broken hearts in her wake without regard for their feelings. I don't feel
Why
like
don't they just say? Why don't they just say she was a slut? They're like dancing around the
slut,
term.
slut, super slut, super slut, 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 slut. Ken, why you look
The
so
only reason
angry?
There's
He's met a Legros one or two in his life.
Jesus Christ, you're a married man. Calm down. At the time
Feel
of her
the
death,
Legros
she was
out there.
caught cheating with another guy by her boyfriend, who was the captain of the school football team, named Chet Walters. On the night of
So
senior
generic.
prom, Chet murdered her and the other dude with a club.
Wow.
Or he murdered the other dude with a club and then strangled her with a tie.
This is pretty dark.
Yeah, this seems like if you're the Ghostbusters, do you even like you don't even pull out the packs, right? Like, you know what? You're fine. I'm not gonna.
Okay. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Why does the withered lover look like a toy in this image?
All right. So because it is the withered lover is the ghost of the mother.
Okay, so okay. I'm also wondering,
Okay.
as you mentioned about the Ghostbusters. Oh yeah, okay. Gotcha. Makes
All right.
sense.
We will put a pin in this for now. This is a preview for a future podcast. I think we probably, as we are approaching October,
Yeah,
I do
it's
think
definitely.
we need to
That's-
like map out 3 or 4 movies and just go. I'm obviously going to vote for all of the old classics. Like, I think we should watch one of the Hellraisers, one of the bad ones.
Well, I think I
I'm
even I think I even saw this original Hammer film, like the film, like this
Hammer.
was. Yeah. So
This
there's
is a remake.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
So
gotcha.
Hammer films are the name. I think it's based off of the director's name. I'd have to. I have to look that up now because I'm not. I mean, it's one of the things where it's like I've known it in. It's one of those like kind of. It was in the
That's-
zeitgeist, so you kind of knew it beforehand. But yeah,
Hammer
What?
horror. That's That's the he's the one with Christopher Lee Dracula.
Okay.
That's like it's a thing.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not saying. Yeah,
They're
I
very
agree
much
with
kind
you.
of like almost like I guess I don't know if it's looking back now at it or if it's from a certain like at the time even it was far more kind of like almost like a Japanese tokusatsu where it's like very inexpensively made and like you see sometimes they'll cut away and they'll come back and there's just like this old lady going and then
Mhm.
it's like there's like oh it's very inexpensively made and
Yeah.
but it has a vibe to it. It's of that era, so I don't know.
Gotcha.
But yeah, this
All right.
was a remake, so that's why it's like another reason why I was like at the time I'm like very much like oh I know about the Hammer film version. I'm so cool.
Oh, you weren't ready for the Shaloub.
You were.
No,
so
I was not ready
cool.
for the Shulub. There's a
Was it? It was a Hammer film.
I thought it was, or at least it was right in that same vein. The original.
It was
13
made in
Ghosts.
1960, the original, and it very much looks like a ghost story made in 1960.
There's a 2020. Oh, that's 13 Lives. Okay.
Ooh, that's not the same. They're
No,
not
it's
ghost yet.
No, it's the prequel.
I was gonna say that would be an interesting movie.
I mean, we know the story. I actually don't think that'd be that interesting. Like, well, this skank got strangled. Okay. Well, this
Okay.
douchebag gambler got his head chopped off. All right. Well, this dumb kid got an arrow through the head.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
just
like
shared.
the arrow through the knee?
Yep, there you go.
Ouch.
I shared it in the chat, but
Yeah, I see it.
the 1960 version is what it was. So it doesn't look like it was
Yeah,
a
it
Hammer
looks
film,
like it.
but it
looks
was
like
very
it
much
would've been.
of that era. Of was like,
Yeah, it definitely has that vibe.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll
That
look
was-
into that. That'll be part of our requisite for Halloween stuff. But
Keep in mind, doing that, we're going to end up watching 2 different actual like Halloween and Rob Zombie Halloween. Look what
I
you've
mean,
done.
I also have a
Mm.
someone who could be a guest for because you wanted to watch you guys. Chucky season 2 is coming back, and I know there's a lot of discussion we had around that with the lore that does tie into the movies. Like the more that I got caught up on it, like there's other stuff going on. I'm like, wow, okay, they did tie back to some random stuff, and they
yeah,
still
you're
chose.
mentioning that.
It's crazy because it's like such an oddball. Like to say they took a left turn would be a disservice because like they did 2 left turns and then like oh well back where it's so out there. It's an oddball series.
When you've got 8 episodes to fill that are 40 minutes each, sometimes you got to take the long way around.
Yeah,
Well, and that you have to you're sort of making him a sympathetic character.
yeah, and so yeah, you're making him a sympathetic character where you're like, oh yeah, I want to identify. It's like, do you? It's also like where like kind of the problem that people had with the Friday the 13th stuff, or not Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street. But there's also the thing where it's like you've got to
You
fill that
got
much
your head
time.
tilted, kid, or Pat. What's going on?
When
Check it
was
out.
Freddy ever a sympathetic character?
Well,
No,
they gave
well-
you the backstory about like sort of what happened. Like
maybe not
the mob
molesting
sympathetic
mentality.
kids.
but people started to get like, yeah, he became Scary Terry. He stopped
Yeah.
being like oh, he's just a bad
He
guy.
was
He's like,
goofy.
he's a bad guy you want to root for. Like, why? What is this
You know,
plan here?
When he was alive, he molested kids, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, but he's dead
People
now.
miss
He's
the
dead now,
point.
Ken.
People miss the point all the time. They're like, oh
Hey,
wait,
what happened to second chances?
is Homelander? Are we the baddies? Like that's
Exactly.
that's the people miss the point.
what are you talking about? Homelander is a hero for us all.
There you go.
Even though in the
Um,
same season he smashed in a guy's face.
That guy deserved it. He was a liberal cuck.
Jeez.
Basically.
Yeah.
I forgot where this all was going, but yeah.
Well,
We
we
were
were just
talking about-
we were yeah,
Oh,
go
yeah.
ahead, Ken. Or Pat.
I would say we were talking about what ghost you should be afraid of. So Ken, what ghost are you afraid of?
Well, clearly I ain't afraid of no ghosts. I think that should be made very much up front.
Pat
Yeah.
with the alley oop.
Stockton to Malone to the
Yes, I'm getting alone over here.
No, we're winners.
And I'm just gonna sit in the corner going, that's terrible. That's a terrible pass. No good goddamn terrible pass.
Out of here, Charles Barkley.
You guys, you had the opportunity with your episode to do sports metaphors and do sports jokes, and you didn't take the time then, so you don't get it now. We're going
right,
back to
fair enough.
Ghostbusters.
You understand
Okay.
it's funnier when you're here.
Halftime.
Can I tell you, you gotta shoot the ball. That's what you gotta shoot the ball just like you shoot Kim Jong-il. I tell you, he's nuttier than a payday bar. You can't give a little guy with a little man complex a nuclear missile. That's crazy. That's a recipe for disaster, Kenny. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Crazy knuckleheaded terrible.
No. Ugh. All right. So first off, this is why you guys are wrong.
Okay. He's got his
Excellent.
notes, ladies and gentlemen.
I do have my
Just-
notes. I didn't know. Did you want to present your case in a different manner? I knew you prepared some
No.
video.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I didn't prepare video. I mean, I will have video throughout this pod that will kind of reiterate what we're saying. But I think to get the audience who didn't watch the first part to understand,
rude.
we went through the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie. Pat had his opinions. I had my opinions. I tried to play,
Devil's
I don't
advocate.
know. No,
Contrarian.
not necessarily that. Not contrarian, but just like middle of the road. Like I tried to at least offer sort of a voice to what you might have had, what your feelings might have been for the movie, even though you weren't here. And also kind of fill in some things that both he and I think were kind of missing as our recap. Because again, I had seen it probably 2 months before he saw it. So
Yeah.
there was stuff I was missing. And then, he was just recapping. So from his own memory, so there are things that he was missing. This is why we brought you on, because not only going back to our, long time episode about our favorite movies, and you brought up, how this kind of shaped your life, but you tend to know obviously way more about Ghostbusters than we do. So with that knowledge behind it, go ahead, Pat.
And before we start, I just want to say the original Ghostbusters, no notes, fantastic film. Ghostbusters 2, highly enjoyable. Love it every time I see it. You are the buzzing of flies to him. It's fantastic. My issues are specifically with
You're missing a
Ghostbusters
Ghostbusters movies in there.
and I do love
You're
a good
missing a
SNL film.
Ghostbusters movie.
I do love a good Bridesmaids SNL combination. So
All right.
I don't want to side with the people that hate women, but I don't. It's not a great movie. So
You've
I'm gonna
just
be
sided
quiet
with
now.
them.
Be quiet.
Pat Edgelord Kellenberger, just spoken. Go ahead, kid. First note.
So I had a lot of overall we're gonna take a few things here. Oscar is not his Louis Tully's kid. I don't know where that came from, where someone decided to make that connection.
That was Pat.
Oscar. Yeah, that was Pat. Oscar
I
is-
apologize to throw some theories out there. I didn't watch them conceive the child.
Credit where's credit is due.
I guess you didn't watch the extended film clips then. That's
Oh, I
Or
missed
just
that.
watch the movie where it was explained.
Oh, I
actually
understand.
no, it wasn't. That's on his side. Is that it wasn't explained? They just say his father. They don't
It's
give you kind of
very-
any.
Yeah, but they also
Very strongly
don't.
hinted, right?
But they also
No.
don't say, "Dude,
It's-
you like to babysit your son when he's babysitting?"
What?
No, it's
Remember
you're
when
right. So how we not know?
Remember
It's
when
like, how do
Jimmy-
you not? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Janine and Lewis babysit Oscar,
Mhm.
it's never mentioned would you like to babysit your son or watch
There is
your
no way
child.
she's telling Lewis Tully it's his kid. It's not happening.
So
The
he
conversation is
got her-
not happening.
So
He
you're
got her
saying
pregnant
that
without
it is
knowing.
his kid but she doesn't want to tell Lewis about it. Although something just dawned on me is they did consummate the relationship in the first Ghostbusters, and there is that potential for that.
They did it doggy style.
The that is there. I actually don't know why I never made that connection.
Interesting.
It's kind of hinted at in between commentaries that it's the guy that she was talking to at her I want to say her music classes, the one who like in the midway through the first movie, you see Dana speaking with someone from her class or from her orchestra. And most people have thought like, oh, that might have been him. It's kind of left open. It doesn't really state who the father is now that you mention it. Or not that, I mean, I knew that, but the Lewis Tully, Vince Clortho and Zool mating definitely does add a connotation there, which could be really problematic in a lot of ways. But
no, does it count if they're different species?
But they
human at the time.
They were still human at the time.
Were they?
They were.
Oh, okay.
So there is that, and that's an interesting thing that I don't think I ever put two and two together.
Oh, look at that! Look who's coming around.
But I guess that's.
I'm gonna start calling Pat Marjorie Taylor Greene over here.
I'm gonna call him Destiny over here because it's far more like I saw what happened. I'm just gonna get him a big old egg shaped head thing and a nice bustier for him, and it'd be like,
Michelle, we're painting you blue. You look so confused. It's fine.
It'd be awesome.
I'll explain later.
What's your next note?
Wait, real quick. Sorry, real quick.
You doing a
There's
victory
no
lap?
way Dana would tell him he's the father, though, right? Like if Lewis Tully is the father, there's no way she ever admits that.
Not until he makes something of his life. He's a loser right now.
He was a successful tax lawyer.
Yeah.
Did you see that building?
He was.
That wasn't his building.
He didn't own it, but I mean, he did live in.
She
a
owned
pretty
it.
Nice
She
place.
was the one. She was the one that had him over.
She didn't know. They're both living, but they both live in their condos. Oh,
I'm talking about part one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's like
yeah.
on the second to last top floor, or
Yeah.
at least in the upper half of this very nice building in downtown in like Manhattan.
Yeah, this is the penthouse
Gotcha.
up there. So
is he still in that part two though?
In part two, they never show his
where
home.
he's at.
They don't show where his
because
home.
The building got destroyed.
Yeah.
With marshmallow.
A fair amount of it got blown up and stuff.
Gotcha.
There were explosions. But maybe knowing him, he had great insurance. He's all about money management, and he's like, you know what? You pay the right insurance, I'm gonna get all that money back. And then he rolls that over into, and then also by the second one, he's also a lawyer. He got his thing from night classes because he's also being inexpensive, let's say. And so he's on the up. So he's growing.
He also receives all the credit for defeating Vigo.
Which, by the way, did we have some of this discussion before? Because we got you got to the Christians and Catholics and ghosts and how that would cause pandemonium. I'm like, we covered that. Like we had a bit of a
we did. We discussed
I think we discussed it on something else.
We talked about it a little bit.
Okay. And was it like a B-roll somewhere on some other episode? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's there. But to that note too, there are later on when they get to Paul Rudd showing them like, you guys don't know about the Ghostbusters? Within the video on the side, the other recommended videos are Ghostbusters related videos. So there's still a certain air of like knowledge about them. So there is some credence to the idea that like, even if it's relegated to the more fringe a conspiracy theorist, it's still out there. So they weren't completely forgotten. And I think in our previous discussion about like how could people just deny this, I'm like, well, people deny a lot worse, so here we are.
It just seems interesting that like you have actual footage that you're like, because again, as we know, but as we said in our discussion about people denying stuff, it's I guess the video footage of said carnage is selective for like Holocaust and World War II and things of that nature. you have video footage of something that happened 25 years ago or something like that, roughly.
Well, okay, so
More
so here's
like
so like
37, 38 years ago.
yeah, and so
Okay.
there's a couple points on this. One, we have footage of UFOs, and we have footage of Bigfoot, Sasquatches. We have footage
We have
of
footage of
Sasquatches.
9/11.
But we don't
Um,
have we don't
and we
have
do have
collective
footage of
but we don't
9/11.
have
Which
we don't have a
people deny.
collective knowledge of that. Like, you know, those sightings of Bigfoot aren't like people at a music festival and they're like, oh, 2,000 people saw Bigfoot walk across the stage. It's like a guy in his backwoods is like, oh, here's a blurry photo of Bigfoot that
But that's-
cannot be confirmed by other people.
But that's my point, though. The footage. What footage would they like? We have
The people that were cheering next to Tully.
yeah, they saw like what could have been explained away as like, oh, those are just gases that you're seeing shift this or that. Like
The problem is that steel doesn't melt at that temperature, and that's the real issue we have here. I'm sorry, Ken, I couldn't resist. Please.
No,
continue.
that's absolutely fair. And people will choose to not acknowledge something. I just found out that apparently Canada has a new queen, which I didn't know about until just today, which don't go looking it up. It's just going to make you sad. But like people will believe anything, like just anything. It's upsetting.
Okay,
So
but to that note, though, again, you're saying people will believe anything. Who is out there trying to disprove this? And I suppose is this a government
Atheists.
thing that's
one William
we
Atherton.
don't have to, you don't what's up?
He's been reported as being dickless. But he has
did he
reported
get fired?
He did. Well, depending on your canon, yes, he did.
Okay.
On other, because I know that Pat had mentioned this. He's like, I want to see what happens there. Or he also mentioned the licensed particle accelerators they have on their back. If ones are, if so, you might check out the Ghostbusters comics, which I highly recommend. The Ghostbusters actually essentially become municipal workers. They are licensed by the city to handle all of the ghost waste, and their oversight representative is the guy from the EPA,
Walter Peck.
Walter Peck. Yeah, William
Nice.
Atherton was the actor.
That's funny.
Walter Peck was. It escaped me for the moment.
Did he get a dick? Is it like a big arc where he gets one and it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, I did it.
It
He
took
just shows up
Slimer.
with phallic things all the time.
Yeah, constantly.
His cane has big nuts on it.
It's getting very close to the Preacher comic. We're really veering deep now.
There you go.
All right, what was your next point?
So
Ken.
In order.
for my second point,
Alphabetical.
I didn't even show up to the debate. I was too sad that you didn't like it, so I couldn't bring
Oh
myself to be
no.
on the air.
Okay, no.
No,
Hold
no,
on.
I know.
Hold on.
I know you liked it. You're on a scale of 1 to 5. You're a 3. You're like I like a 2.5 is the middle, and I'm a 3, so I'm above the middle. Like
you and your
you're-
five
if I-
scale.
a
Get
4,
outta here. It's
3.5.
like that 5 gun.
If I'm being a little probably less jaded, it's a 3.5. I enjoyed it. It was good. It was.
Yes.
It had a lot of emotional scenes. Please continue. I'm not going to rant.
No, I understand that, and like if I haven't gone back to watch it since I saw it in the theater, because as we talked about, Kareem and I, the role of the body double for Egon in the movie is played by Ivan Reitman, and then
Mhm.
like shortly thereafter, Ivan Reitman passed away, and that was just like, oh crap. So if I watch it now, I'm seeing all this and all that emotional is tied in there with the passing of like one of these like icons in the mythos.
Who
Like
who did the voice for Spangler in the real Ghostbusters cartoon?
I believe I was gonna say Maurice LaMarche, but I believe that was
Is
actually
he alive?
Maurice LaMarche is alive, but also I'm thinking that that's actually Ray.
I'm asking because I'm just this. We're starting to see a trend.
Oh no, the voice of
I like where this trend is going.
no, the voice of Egon is Maurice LaMarche, and he's still alive and still working.
right.
So yeah,
For now.
for now.
So it would be somewhat
I've seen Final
emotional for you to
Destination.
watch the movie again, though, given everything.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get back to it, but it's just it hasn't been one, as we talked about before. There's so much media out there that we're constantly consuming that it's like, oh well, I've heard good stuff about this. Let's put that in the queue. And like now it's like, all right, we're gonna get through the Orville. It's like, okay, well that's gonna be a bunch of episodes and it's good. And yeah, so yeah, that's, and also it's like, what do we watch that's kind of digestible? And you have like a movie, you're like, oh, it's 2 hours plus. I'll just watch an episode of the Orville, but then you watch 2 episodes and you're like, oh, but also you're getting smaller contained stories. It's easier just to kind of like, oh, just a bite of content.
You can
Well, it's
stop
also-
it
quick
where
bite.
you want.
Yes.
There's also the difference of
Uh,
like,
You can stop it where you
Tapas.
want, but with a movie, if you stop in the middle, there's a certain pacing that you're not going to get.
No, exactly.
Whereas-
That's what I mean. Like with a TV show, like, oh, I'm watching Avatar. Okay, I'm a half an hour. I'm good. I'm done. I can watch 3 of them if I want. Hi, Katie.
well, there's also the added notion that you are watching new content, so to speak, for these shows versus going back to rewatch, something you've already seen.
No,
to take
we
the
are
time
at
to go
age
do it.
now where we should just be only watching things we've already seen. Everything new is stupid.
I'm there with music, but there are so many good shows coming
Oh
out.
God, so sad.
So many.
Kareem's there with music. Jesus,
I've tried to
I'm
listen
gonna-
to new stuff, and it's just
man.
there's
can't
just so
keep
many.
running
There's so
away.
much out there.
Can't keep running
There
away.
are 60,000 new songs added to Spotify each day. How am I going to keep up with that?
Good
I
heavens.
don't know. Hit play.
Just play it in the background.
Fair enough.
All right. Next point.
Let's see
Attack. Vicious.
here. I appreciate Michelle trying to pivot to sports in my absence. I appreciate that.
You took note.
How
I
dare
got a
you?
lot of Trey Lance hot takes, guys. A lot of Trey Lance hot takes.
You did pretty
Kareem-
well last week.
Cream's
Yeah,
over here
fuck Jimmy
trying to
Garoppolo.
smirch the fact that Egon was afraid of that ghost. He ain't afraid of no ghost, sir. Egon was as a
Pretty
calculated.
afraid to me.
It's a
Did
calculated.
you say I
retreat.
besmirched or Pat besmirched?
That
I
was
thought it was you. Okay,
Yeah.
then you, sir, Patrick. You.
I tried to defend it.
There you go. Thank you. I appreciate you standing in my corner then. But no, it was a calculated retreat. He's like, no, I'm going to pull back to here so that I can capture Gozer and Zool as well, or Vince Clortho. So part of that discussion was like, oh, hey, well, why wouldn't he run further? It's like, or why didn't he keep driving? It's like he had a plan. He was trying to get back to his field full of ghost traps to capture what it was coming after him. And that was the plan. The plan
Well,
didn't
the other
work
thing-
because
The other thing I noticed, because as I was editing, I got extra footage, his truck got flipped over. So that stopped him kind of dead in his
Ooh,
tracks right
okay,
there.
that's fair. That's fair. I
He
do
was
have
like
a question
going and the ghost like
regarding.
knocks into the side of it. Yeah.
I do have a question regarding the super trap.
Yeah.
He is a scientist.
yeah. Yes. So because I think I know where you're going. And also because you guys talked about the fact that he wasn't able to fix the car. He's a scientist. He's not an engineer. And so you have certain aspects of
All right, fair.
like you had Ray fixing the car back in the first movie. Later on, Winston would do some work on it. So there was definitely some aspects where like he was more the science of it, but you still need an engineer to put that into play. Much like when you had in Ghostbusters Answer the Call, you had what's her name? Wits. She's the only good Ghostbuster in my opinion in that movie.
The one with the 2 guns?
The glasses.
Kate McKinnon.
Kate McKinnon, yeah. She was the engineer. She's the one who's like, okay, I'm gonna take your theories and put them into practical workings, and that's what Egon needs. Like he had a certain amount of it too. He did a certain amount of like the science and the technical work, but that wasn't his specialty. So that's where you kind of have.
How amazing would the movie have been if Kate McKinnon showed up as one of the Ghostbusters just to piss off a certain segment of people?
I would have liked that.
Unless
5 of
it's-
5. I could just out of anger. It's 5 of 5. I get it.
If-
I know. I know you can't do it, but
I was gonna say if there's a portal, which by the way, again, to go back to the comics, there is a comic where the movie Ghostbusters meet. I'm sorry, the OG movie Ghostbusters meet the real Ghostbusters cartoon ones, and then they also meet the Answer the Call Ghostbusters because of temporal rift and like the different ghosts are tearing through the realities. It's a lot of fun, and like it's just like canonizes them all. Like yeah, they all just exist, but different worlds. Like we're getting multiverses. That's the themes of the 2020s is multiverse or the
Isn't that
20
what they,
teens.
isn't that what they teased at the end of
Answer the
Answer
Call.
the Call?
Yes, that is kind of that's kind of they teased Zool. That's all they
Right.
teased. So that not necessarily that they were going to cross over.
Yeah,
Realities,
no,
but yeah,
they
but
left they left it open for something sort of like that, if a
Yeah.
possibility.
Yeah. And so that was me trying to defend the good name of Spengler, even though he is a deadbeat dad, and that's a different scenario and
Oh,
something
the
else that-
worst.
Now-
you're starting to
yeah,
sound like
if
you're starting
that-
to sound like those Freddy guys.
now hold on.
The Freddy
because
gang.
if that were my daughter, I'd abandon her too. She was annoying as hell. It's fine.
Oh, I'm sure Ken's got notes on that too.
there's a lot to go through there because I thought about this has come up before. I think I don't know what discussion it was with but,
CPS,
but yeah,
Child
exactly.
Protective Services.
But hey, but she didn't have a good role model. Her dad left at a fairly young age. We don't know when.
What did her mom do?
Yeah, you're right. There's no way she could know what a good parent should do. You're right.
I'm just saying, like it's kind of on Egon, which something we're calling into question here is how old is she? So we never hear kind of an idea of when did he leave, at what age. Like we just kind of have a rough idea. So Carrie Coon is born in 1981, a great year to be born in my opinion.
You damn right it is.
Mm-hmm.
I have to triple that.
She's born in 1981. Ghostbusters takes place in 1984, so she would have been 3 if the character is the same age as the
Subtract
actress.
10 years. You always subtract 10 years. It's Hollywood.
Yeah,
so whatever her age is, at least subtract 10.
Yeah,
because I think she's supposed to be like mid 30s in the movie.
So
I guess
her oldest is 15, right?
Yes.
He lied about
Yeah, because it's like,
he's 15. Yeah. So
he's gonna be 16 in 6 months.
Yeah. And so like
and
he's
still too young.
Yeah. So there's that notes there. So in 84, she would have been 3. In 80, and that's the first Ghostbusters. So, and then by the second Ghostbusters, where he's doing scientific work within a research lab again. He's like, let's see if we take away the puppy, what happens? That's 89. So she would have been 8. Like, and there's no mention of a child, no mention of a family.
Yeah.
As far as we know, all 3 of these guys are single. It's tough because, by the way, the second movie is canon. Ivan Reitman and Jason Reitman confirmed that. So that was not
fucking better be.
Yeah, they don't make too many. There are a few nods to it, I think. In there, I'd have to go back and rewatch it again. But I feel
otherwise they fought the same ghost twice, and that was the end of the loop.
Yeah, and it's something that needs to be addressed. Also, like Slimer. So part of this discussion was because you said, why didn't they just bring back Slimer again? Part of it was that they wanted to. Slimer had become like the mascot of the Ghostbusters because of the cartoon, and like, oh no, I want to bring some fear back to that. So that's why they created Muncher. Also, to be honest, a fair amount of this, as Pat was kind of alluding to, a certain amount of it is formulaic to the first movie, but I like that formula, so I'm okay with that. And I admit that my nostalgia goggles are on, so I'm like, that's fine. Like, let's give me more.
Ken, as a man that loves like the Hellraiser first 2 films, trust me, I can't throw that many stones.
Yeah, I hear you.
You shouldn't be picking up any.
they cause pain.
They call him Mr. Glass.
My knees, bitch.
And so you've so Muncher and like also like the little the mini puffs. They're funny for the movie, but they're like, how do we make new toys? Like that's a fair amount of that is just like, but the branding, you want to know that you can probably, I think it's about 8 different mini puff Funko Pops. Like, and some of them are like, oh, well, here's the Baskin Robbins exclusive. Here's the 7-Eleven exclusive. Here, like they're out. I was about to say, I think I have one myself from a t-shirt that I got because I liked it. And there's a ton of them. And it's a fair amount of it is about branding and new toys, which, much like many other properties right now, we're going to also get a cartoon animated series. And we're jumping forward, we're also looking at a sequel already confirmed. So like this is a new starting point. It's like kind of the close up to the last arc and then also a setup for a new one. It's kind of weird.
That brings me to a question, and maybe this is a tangent that we're going to go down.
Yeah.
But if the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, for those who believed in what happened in New York, would that be a product that's like poisonous by brand? Like the thing tried to destroy part of
Middle
York.
America. They hate New York.
Yeah, it's like exactly those.
I'm just saying, like on a fear level alone, it's like, your bag of marshmallows could kill you.
I mean, AR-15s can literally kill you, and people are still buying those up like hotcakes.
That's part of my freedom.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose,
To Pat's point, it was a coastal elitist that state that they decided to take out. So maybe that sailor was doing the Lord's work. I don't know. Like I can't.
Good job, Stay Puft.
It just seems like if we get on BP about their oil spills, maybe we get on the Stay Puft about their marshmallow.
Can we blame them? Do they take a lot of blame for the
I mean, if you don't believe in ghosts and you just see a giant marshmallow, I think they're the only people to blame.
I don't think you're buying the giant marshmallow if you're not buying the ghost. You're not like, well, I believe the giant marshmallow, but the ghost I'm out on. That's
I've seen
where I
animatronics.
draw the line.
This is a Disney fake.
That's
There you
the
go.
deep fake begins with D.
It's
Disney
like the
begins
Pirates
with
of the
D.
Caribbean
Fucking connect the
ride.
dots.
Yeah, let's see. Next up a point I have is, oh yeah, so like they're losing their house. Like, this is a horrible economy. Like, I'm not going to blame her for not some people seem to have a mindset that if you don't have money, you're a failure and you did the wrong things. You can do all the right things and still fail, folks.
Hold on a second, though. She was quasi evicted several times. That's the issue. It's one thing to be like, hey, I lost my job. We're in tough times and we're about to head down this road. I can see it happening. I have 2 children to basically provide for, and I need to figure out a way. And like, oh, hey, this house happened to just come up. So this is like our best opportunity. But they were hours away from just being kicked out of the house, which means that like her landlord
had
came
no plan.
over several times. What's up?
No,
She
you're
had
right.
no plan. And like, again, what was she doing in that time?
Look, I know I have not been a reliable or consistent tenant, but if you can just give me a week to settle some loose ends, I will be back with everything I owe.
I can fix that!
Listen, I wait for you to leave, then I change locks.
Trying to raise 2 kids without a father in the house.
Whoa.
She's her best, okay,
Clearly,
Kareem? She's trying to do her best.
That hard. She was not trying that hard, all right? Because she's way too busy trying to catch a dick. Way more invested in like, oh, hey, Paul Rudd, what's up?
I mean, it is Paul Rudd, so can you blame her?
Which is fair.
That
is fair.
That's
looks like some kind of football coach or something.
As Pat said, he's running it up over there.
Exactly. So yes, I'm not
There
gonna.
were just so many questions behind her character.
I mean, she came from a rough background. I'm not gonna judge the woman too much. Okay.
Well, we don't know that. We only know from her dad's side. Her mom raised her.
I mean, her mom.
And we're
her
shitting all over
mom
her mom's
married.
parenting.
Her mom married Egon Spengler. Actually, we don't even know if they were married.
Yeah, as I say, we don't even know.
Oh, out of wedlock.
Exactly. That.
Middle America's never going to buy this movie. Now they believe in ghosts. They won't believe in out of wedlock marriage or kids.
My issue with her, and it's just the writing. I mean, at the end of the day, it is like there's no. She's just kind of this papered over, like haggard mom that's trying her best, but not really because she's too busy making jokes. Like she's a part of Gilmore Girls. Like, calm it down. Like you've got.
I mean, yeah.
You've got one kid. Go ahead.
Sorry. Well, she's a conduit to what we called mini Egon, kid Egon, baby Egon,
Phoebe,
baby Egon is what we called it.
Phoebe
Egon.
And they never built out, which is, she's as much as she's a conduit, she's also like the crutch to the movie. When you get that emotional scene at the beginning,
her and podcast are the best 2 parts of the movie.
No, you're talking about the mom though, right?
No, I'm talking about the mom.
Yeah, but you're saying she's
they
a
use the
conduit.
mom. She's a conduit, but she's also the crutch to the movie. Like you have to build her out, even if you're going to get to baby. Because at the very end, when you saw the pictures, it makes more sense if we understand her backstory. Like maybe, what if her mom did pass away? Egon was never there. She was raised as a foster kid. That adds to why she has no real, ability to raise her own kids. Like she mentions when she's talking to Paul Rudd that like the dad couldn't relate to Phoebe. I'm like, you can barely relate to Phoebe.
Yeah. There's
Go ahead.
So I think Jason Reitman did mention that. I mean, I think it shows in the movie that a fair amount of the movie was developed as far as like we have the idea like, well, we want to do the next generation of Ghostbusters as kids, and then they worked backwards from that, and so which kind of is right there on the page. Like it's like, yeah, we can tell that that's the way it was. It wasn't like, oh, hey, this is a story that we're going to go from here. We're going to evolve over time into this position. Like, no, you worked backwards from having kid Ghostbusters. Like, oh, well, how would these kids have the Ghostbusters? Maybe they're the grandkids. Okay, well, what about the parents? Like, what? Like, they worked that stuff backwards to get to where they were.
Well, then they need to do like Spielberg did, which is what they did with podcasts, is not show the parents. Let it be a child-focused movie.
But you can't do that because if you're doing it from the point of like, oh, well, Phoebe's going to be a Spengler, you have to have the bloodline. You have to have that connection.
Somebody had to have the sex.
No, I get that. I mean, we understand that podcast came from sex, but there's no reason to focus on his parents. Like the
Podcast
characters
is a gift from God.
That's from traditional intercourse. That's the
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
There you go.
That's
Yeah.
traditional intercourse, as the kids say it these days.
Pat.
Christ.
The Mormon kids.
I also want to go on record that Carrie Coon is a fantastic actress, and I have this is no
Oh,
shade.
now look at it. Now look who's moonwalking.
Oh no, like the character's still garbage.
Yeah.
So
And also the I think that also connects to your other connection of like, oh, why not make the kids foster kids? It's like because you're trying to build a through line of the family. Like that's I think that adds more hurdles to the story than you're just like, well, I get that you were trying to be like, well, this doesn't need to connect to this because they didn't do a good job building that bridge. It's like they didn't do a good job building the bridge, but you still need the bridge to get from Egon.
Oh, no, you just need the bloodline, and as a foster child, she could still be a Spangler bloodline without having to go with the mom's storyline.
I think the reason is more cynical. I think you have to have the mom so you can have the moment where she sees all the pictures, because a lot of it, they're really trying to pound the emotional weight. They do a real, and it works, but you can see them like
I teared up. I have daddy issues, so like there are issues there, and so like seeing like all that, the thing of like having there's a lot where it works, and it's like it might be more than a little bit manipulative, but
it does work though.
But it does work.
Oh no, I'm with Ken. Like it worked on me, and I was very emotional in that scene.
Yeah,
I'm saying in retrospect though, like I also agree with Pat. Like they dropped the ball on the mom character, even though they managed to, get the touchdown with that scene. It just seems like, they were fumbling all the way to that with that character, and it just seems, at least from what I'm seeing as an outside viewer, it could have been with a few lines of dialogue or maybe some like panning shots of photos that they could have answered some of that they chose not or didn't have time to.
Positive outcome does not mean positive process.
Yeah.
Like you got where you need to go. You did a poor job getting there.
Yeah. I'll say you didn't do the best job. I don't want to be too.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. Yeah. There's a lot worse movies out there.
She was still a mom at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did at least like, well, I guess I care enough about my kid to stop the date at the very least. And like, that just means they're not going to be home tonight. So
there you go.
Remember, she didn't stop the date. The cops are like, you need to come pick up your kids.
Oh, they feed people in jail, so they'll be fine for a day or two.
You guys, they do meals? You get the loaf?
It didn't look like that sheriff was going to feed him anytime soon.
They're going to get 3 hots and a cot, right? Like this is how it works, right? Like no, okay.
They get 24 hours and they're back out of the streets.
Next note was just more stuff about that's when we had the Christian Catholics ghosts and pandemonium, and how do people forget? But we kind of covered that a couple different times, so that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, Paul Rudd. He very much was there to rut it up and be kind of like the Louis Tully comic relief character. My thought, even after seeing it, is it's pretty white cast. I mean, we do have Lucky and her dad as a sheriff, but couldn't Paul Rudd have been like Randall Park? And then you have
then you're going to get Middle America confused. But like, is that Podcast's dad?
Well, they are both Korean, if I remember.
You're getting too technical already.
So, but then also, what
Asian?
So, are you Chinese or Japanese?
I live in California last 20 years, but first come from Laos.
Huh?
Laos. We lay ocean.
The ocean? What ocean?
We are lay ocean. From Laos, stupid. It's a landlocked country in Southeast Asia. It's between Vietnam and Thailand, okay? Population 4.7 million.
So, are you Chinese or Japanese?
Well, here's the thing. What if to that point, what if he is Podcast dad? What if he's like, oh yeah, like I never told you about the Ghostbusters, because like he's a bit sciencey. His son's over here, and I can see the delineation there. But then you have the question of like, what about the mom? But still, I think that could have been. I as much as I enjoy Paul Rudd, and I think he's a great actor.
Doesn't sound like it's your next statement.
I just think
that, with all due respect,
this is an opportunity to get a little more diversity in there, as opposed to when you look at the poster, it's like, look at these 4 white people, and also there's Logan Kim there too.
What state is it in?
I mean, the state of denial, as far as I'm concerned.
Damn right. I totally agree. Paul Rudd is there because his name is Paul Rudd and he is very famous. And
Yeah, and that's
I get it, but
yeah, I get it, and that's
Hey,
why I
they
said
brought
like,
in Winston. What else do you want, Ken?
ooh,
yeah,
This
exactly.
ain't Black Panther.
that's a third.
Yeah,
Say Black Panther.
but yes, it's not necessarily a 1-for-1.
Solar's not getting her groove back in this shit. All right.
Yeah,
Come on, Ken.
fair enough.
You're asking for way
Neither
too much.
neither is what's the mom's name? It's not Callie, but goodness
It is,
gracious,
well, that's the actress.
it's Carrie, isn't it? Carrie?
Yeah.
Callie.
No,
Callie.
it's Callie. Yeah.
No, wait, the character's name.
It's Callie.
Callie.
I think the actress's
The
name is
actress
something
name
else.
is Carrie.
The actress name is Carrie. That's what that. Okay, that's on them. By the way, they really could have either just make it Carrie, don't make it Callie. Like you're just being,
That is how much they didn't care about this character.
Whatever. Callie, Carrie, go fuck yourself. It's fine.
Go name yourself. Whatever you
Are
respond
we
to.
selling a toy
Action.
of her? We're not. It's fine.
There you
that's
go.
fair. We are not. However, we are selling a toy of podcast, and it's absolutely amazing.
That's pretty
There's a
awesome.
podcast toy.
There's a podcast. There's two. There's like the 5-point of articulation version, like of the one we had as a kid. It's like,
Well, you have both?
oh yes, I have both. There's like the classic.
Nice.
This one's like the same scale. So like if he was a kid, and like I'm
the
gonna
Kenner
paint it brown. Yes, I know. It's awesome.
Nice.
But yes, I they have toys. There's also one that's more of like a Marvel Legends. So if you want to stand him next to Adam Warlock, you
God.
could have podcast and Adam Warlock together.
Can I have him? I still have to pick it up, but I want to have him busted God Emperor Doom.
There you go. You haven't
Or
picked
you
up
can be
God
shooting
Emperor
at magic or something.
No.
There you go.
Go back to hell,
this is a
bitch.
premium.
Doom? He comes.
With his
he comes-
mom's fucked up, man.
Yeah.
Doom's mom. Doom's mom. Doom's mom. I'm sure
Gotcha.
podcast mom's a lovely woman.
Yeah. We
don't know because they never show her.
I mean, she didn't stop him from trying to do a podcast for 46
Yeah,
episodes when it
that's
really found its stride. Like
pretty
she's at
fucking
least
cool.
supported him
Well,
enough for that.
Hold on. We don't know that though, because he carries his podcast with him. So maybe she kicked him out of the house and he tries to do his podcast
What
stuff.
do you think he just
Why did it go
wanders
so
the
dark?
street?
But she's just like,
Jesus Christ.
Just
The
saying.
podcast is homeless.
Only when he
How
wants
is
to do
he
his
charging
podcast.
anything?
at school technically because it is summer school and he's still there.
Yes.
Oh, this is Kareem's dark
oh.
version is not.
Oh, his
This
parents are dead. He's just in the house alone.
I'm going Snyder with this.
Oh my goodness.
Oh God.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe.
Oof.
Want to do a podcast? Maybe.
Yeah, my parents are dead. It's great. I'll do one. Done and done.
Oh man.
I'm gonna be honest. Like I pick nits with
now you're
the
gonna be
mom
honest?
and Paul Rudd. I just truly dislike the Finn Wolfhard character, Trevor. Just
I haven't
Right
mentioned
off.
it at all yet. Just
Yeah,
because
We're gonna
like
get to it.
he's there because you want to have like 4 kids at the end of the movie. So you
we need a white heterosexual famous kid. This guy.
basically and also that he can stand next to Phoebe and that they could look related.
Yeah.
Like there's that. And then you have Lucky who's going to be there. Also, this also touches on the other point that I had. I believe there was a deleted scene with the cops that mentions that they were during the chaos when it all started to erupt, they were otherwise trying to capture Ghost. I think there's a
Okay.
deleted scene with that.
How?
Bullets.
Well, they were trying to, but I didn't say they were successful, and that's why they're out there.
I want the scene of them just randomly shooting at ghosts.
Well, I also
I-
want the scene where the guy's like, "Hey, you remember that toy that the girl said caught the ghost? Why do we leave that back at the station?
Yeah,
Probably
like,
use that right now."
I mean, yeah, his daughter came in and stole the car, the car or two. They stole some stuff
They
because
stole the car. They got the
Yeah.
trap back.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
are very bad cops.
Yeah. By the way, the there's 2 cops in the scene, if I remember correctly. One is Lucky's father, and the other is Dan Aykroyd's daughter. That's
Really?
he's like
Like the
keeping
actress. Or
the
like-
actress, yeah.
Okay,
No, no,
it's
it
like in the
knows no
storyline.
bounds.
Yeah.
So
Is she in anything else? Do we know her?
she's not. She's only, to my knowledge, she's probably only done this or maybe I'm not sure, but yeah, it was more of like it's a little Easter egg thing
Okay.
for her to. It
Now-
wasn't like
now, when
she's
you said-
established.
Yeah, Ken, when you said that they were, trying to do the younger generation and they were going to have the 4 Ghostbusters, are they counting Lucky in this, or is she actually going up the cause like she said she was going to?
I mean, she's counting for the she counts for the toys. So
Okay.
she
She gets
counts.
a suit and everything?
Yeah, she gets a suit and everything. She has a suit in the
she's
movie.
in a suit in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed that.
Yeah.
It's at the end when
missable.
she's in a suit.
It's easily missable when she gets sidelined harder than podcast does.
I was gonna say, yeah, like
Yeah.
these podcasts are still in the car trying to do stuff.
Hey,
Yeah.
new dog, come on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
that's which, yeah, it's tough. That is not the best look on some of this, especially because, like, as I was saying, like with the whole, like, otherwise, oh well, I mean, I get to from the writing standpoint is you need to have Callie there, you need to have her to see her father, you need to have these characters kind of move and shift places so you can have these moments. But it still also is not a good look. What's like, the only woman of color is going to go there into, she disappears along with Paul Rudd. That's fine. Like, okay. And also, like, at one point she does the Egon thing of she goes back to the house to get ready and prepare for the finale. And you kind of like, oh, that's right. She was in the movie too. And she comes, like, she kicks open the door and they do their thing. But it does get a little bit kind of like, all right, just wait by the sidelines. We're gonna get back to you later.
You'll be big in part 2. Don't even worry about it. It's fine. We definitely won't recast you at all. That's not gonna what?
I mean,
we're bringing back the dog. You have a bigger role now.
Yeah. So that's a lot of mixed signals there. Let's see.
Just, a couple.
Yeah. So the cops, I think there's a deleted scene about that. You had a question, the Kareem, you were unaware at first, like you're like, oh, we don't know that it's Egon, or you didn't know that it's Egon who's haunting the house. So I'm like, it's like, depending on, I guess for me, like from moment one, I figured, okay, that's Egon. Also, It's Egon because he is, it's kind of like pointed at because he has that PKE meter, which is also a taser that drops when he gets killed smothered by the arms. Like that's kind of like, that's how we know that. But then again, I guess it's more kind of deep inference than like, it's Egon, folks. But I think,
well, I'm just playing to the audience's thing because again, we've never seen their connection to being, any of the Ghostbusters being able to, like, transfer through the temporal phase or whatever. Like, it's just, we've seen other ghosts that have died, mostly tragic death, things like that. And his, like, the little, after he's taken or whatever, there's a spirit or whatever that shoots away from the house. It doesn't stay in the house.
Yes. So that's the thing. So there's a little bit of miscommunication too. You thought that he was running from, like, you're like, oh, that was the thing that shoots back to the house is, so what happened is, I think it's also not clear in the movie too. He captures one of the terror dogs. He captures Vince Clortho, one of the terror dogs, in the trap. That's who's in the trap. And the other one is what's chasing him down to try and, because Gozer can't come out unless both of them, I'm sorry, not Gozer. Yeah, Gozer can't come out unless both terror dogs are free. He grabs this. He's like, oh, I took one of your keys. You need the 2 turnkey system to open up the gates. So now you can't do that. And that's why he's using that as a lure to capture the other one. And so the thing that shoots back is the other terror dog.
Well, see, and again, it's not clear because what's chasing him doesn't have that form either way. It'd be different if, like, if we saw it fly the same way into the house or chasing him and then leave again. But I mean, as we're led to believe, as soon as we see it, it grabs him, sucks him into the chair. The next scene is a cutscene of the spirit flying away from the house.
Yeah, and it doesn't have a form like this where you'd be like, oh, well, that's a terror dog in the form that's gonna. Yes, yeah, that's.
You're missing some limbs.
Yeah, it's a build-a-figure piece, and I only have
board.
No, I don't have infinite funds, so I got podcast. I got a couple characters I really wanted on sale, and then I'm hoping to get the other ones on sale later.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I knew, I mean, obviously, because we're watching this movie, we knew who it was. But if you're someone who maybe had not seen any of the Ghostbusters movies, you're coming into this, you're like, all right, here's the scene of a guy getting sucked into a chair. And the thing that was chasing him is still around. So it could be in the house. He could have left the house as a spirit. Like, we don't know what what's in the house. We don't know that he had an ability to haunt a house at this point.
I mean, I don't know that, like, it's not he trained like a Jedi to stick around as a Force ghost. It's just kind of, it's
How
just
cool would that have been, though?
It's, there is that. Maybe he did, and that's what he's doing all that time away. We don't know.
This actually brings up probably my actual biggest issue with the movie is, in what world does Ray not believe Egon?
in the world that we have to work from here to here,
Yeah.
and then plan for the like. That's I think I wrote as like, that's just a plot contrivance. Like it's plot armor for the story to be like, you're right. Like Ray, I don't know if we had that discussion at one point too. Is I think we talked about that. Is like Ray would have backed him up, but they had to just be like, well, he left everyone, even his friends and his kids that we didn't know about until later.
He loves his bookstore, so Ray's not gonna.
Oh yeah, that was another thing too. The bookstore, when you said like, oh, did 2 even, does this count as canon? The bookstore starts in 2. So
Okay.
that's also another thing that's kind of points towards it that it is in canon and still considered canon. But that's another hint towards that.
Thank God.
Yeah, I
Someone
don't,
will
I don't know why
whisper.
you would just leave everyone behind.
Yeah. In the follow-up movie, I really hope Oscar comes back as a Ghostbuster. However, I believe both of the Oscar
I think
baby
one of them.
actors
Just one,
passed
right?
away.
Yeah,
Both
they're
of them
just
did?
gonna.
I thought
they
they
don't-
both did.
I mean, you don't need them.
They can recast. It's fine.
They
Yeah.
can recast, right? You only saw him as a baby. He could have changed.
Also, Oscar is cursed.
I
That
mean,
is true.
that's the thing too. Is like that leads into a
Bring
character.
back
like,
Vigo.
but that leads something to him as a character. Is like has a haunted past. Like he's like, yeah, I had a demigod try to take my body. Okay, like I'm a little messed up. Leave me alone. Like I don't want to keep doing this, but I keep getting pulled back in.
That is fair. Every time
He's
you're
a
out,
godfather of ghosts.
Yeah.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Every
back in,
time I
baby.
get out, just pull me back in.
but they don't. They don't because he wasn't even brought up. Didn't even
Yeah.
talk about him.
I mean, he wasn't brought up in this
Well, because
version.
Sigourney Weaver wasn't brought up either.
Well,
that's
that's
Go.
okay. So that was another thing that was talked about. That's one of the last notes I had was that actually, Sigourney Weaver did come back for a cameo, but they couldn't find a spot for her in the story, so they made that cameo.
So-
Should have just bumped the mom.
Well, the thing that Pat was hearing, he's like, oh, I heard that Sigourney passed on it initially, but what happened was she passed on the video game which was the third movie for a lot of people, and there's also discussion of how canon is that now with the Afterlife movie.
Mhm.
I see. I upset Pat with this. I'm so sorry, Pat.
son of a bitch.
So Sigourney passed on the video game because she's like, oh, it's fine. I'm not really like, I don't need to do that too.
I'm making this Avatar money, baby. Keep it rolling.
Well, she's like, she didn't know the whole cast was coming back. And so they ended up not recasting, but they filled that spot with Alyssa Milano. And then when the game came
Okay.
out and everyone was like, oh, this is so great. She's like, I didn't know you were getting everyone back together. Cause all for the Ghostbusters. And this is in a time when Bill Murray's being a jerk to Ivan Reitman and
Yeah.
everyone. And, but they still got Annie Potts. They got back a lot of good actors to do that game.
Rick Moranis over there giving everyone the finger.
Rick Moranis is retired for the most part. And as much as it saddens me,
I respect.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish he would.
Is that why he got punched?
I don't know why he got. People are atrocious. It's probably a Vigo guy who's a big fan of him, a Vigo stan, and he's just like,
Son of a bitch.
You
How
ruined
dare
The
you?
buzzing. Do you want the buzzings?
yes. And so I'm saddened, but I wish he would come back. But I understand. So pretty much most of the cast came back for that game, and that's the thing that she had passed on because she didn't know the rest of the cast was gonna be on it.
Gotcha.
She had kind of,
Okay.
because she even did a cameo for the Answer the Call, but again, in the cameos, they're like, well, they had to find a spot for her to fit story wise, so that's why she's a cameo at the end with Bill. But also, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, otherwise, she doesn't make a good fit story wise anyway. I'm trying to pull.
I mean,
out
if you're a shit writer, she doesn't.
I mean, what role would she have had in there, or not role, but what part in the story could she have played that would have affected things?
They could
somehow?
have shown a scene where they contact Venkman and she picks up the phone.
Well, since we wanted to leave it with Ray finding out about what's going on with
She could have
Egon.
been there at the end of the film. She could have
She
been there
was.
to support. You know what I mean?
with the
actual
proton
film.
pack. I mean,
Not with a
it's
proton pack, but just they
driving the
work.
car.
They work Janine.
I don't give her some goddamn motherly advice on how to raise a kid.
I mean,
That's a good idea.
That's
great.
That's fair, but I mean, she raised the leader of the known world at some point, so
Exactly. I think she would know a thing or two about raising a kid.
I agree that maybe if they would have tried a little harder, they could have found a spot. But I think considering the story that we have and all the parts that we kind of have talked about already, there wasn't a spot for Janine to be in there. Not Janine, for
You're just getting rid of all
Dana.
the women, aren't you?
Dana to be in there. I mean, I think that her part was good. I think that if I don't know where she would have fit in there to be like, oh hey, expect this, or yeah, it's there's already so many pieces that we're even taking out Lucky and Paul Rudd at one point just so we can focus on the Spengler story. So if that's the case, again, plot contrivances, but we're trying to get to this point. So that's why we don't have a spot for Dana until a cameo at the end, which I appreciate it.
I get, but also sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if anything, the way they could have made her cameo better to me is if the end of the film is so you have the moment where Winston's walking back into the firehouse. You have Venkman coming home and being like, hey honey, I'm home, and then like it's Dana and Oscar and like, oh well, blah blah blah. It's like at least like, oh, it's like, it's good to see the guys again, something like that as a post-credit scene, not just a weird kind of like, oh hey, remember this thing? Like it kind of works, but it's also like this is just shot
out of
to
left
be here.
field, like you're just
It's there it's a cameo for the purpose of a cameo, not for any type of story purpose, which if I want them to have a purpose. And the Ghostbusters, the three old guys, didn't do much as it was anyways, and now Dana's going to be shoehorned in there at the end.
I mean, you could have also, I mean, again, if you, depending on how you wanted to do the story, you could have actually had her move to whatever that town is that they're at, because she wants to get away from all the members of New York, and have whoever that old guy is
be there.
No, that's what I'm saying. Have the old guy try and use her as a conduit again. Like he builds whatever it is.
Instead of making it Egon centric, made it Dana centric, but they had to make it Egon centric.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. My point is, you could still do it with Egon centric, but she would be basically a townie, not knowing that things were about to unfold because of her.
Egon follows her there. Egon follows her there.
Egon only follows her there because the old man is following her. Like he's
the old man?
That the guy who built the mine.
Ivo Shandor's dead. He died in 45.
He's just in his little container waiting.
Right.
To be brought back.
But I'm saying you could have him build whatever this temple is to it, knowing that she's there, saying like, hey, we need her again.
No, there's no one who built the temple, and all the stuff that existed in the town existed long before the first movie. And Ivo Shandor died in 1945. He died in 1945.
Dead. But I'm saying that's what you wrote in the story. You could have him alive now.
No, you
it doesn't
can't
change anything.
They talk about it, how he was a madman in the first movie, and that he, like, before he died, like they talk about him as in the past tense. Ivo Shandor had a bunch of
But what if he wasn't dead?
Mm-hmm. I mean, now you're adding more storylines where we're already by the end of it. We had to.
I can't hear you over my pointing.
He did the figure thing. It means money.
No, it is. There's just, like you said, a lot has to be papered over to get to the scenes they want to get.
Right.
And it suffers
but
from the Dark Knight Rises.
They didn't even paper over a lot, though. They literally just cut out stuff saying like, we don't need to explain any of that.
Why? Okay, but you're saying that cut out. I was never there, so it's not that they cut anything out, and I don't think that there's like they weren't like, oh, there's a gap here that we're not even worried about the gaps. We're just going straight forward to our scene where the Ghostbusters shoot stuff, and then Egon shows up as a ghost. Like that's always our endpoint. That's where the story's going to land. So everything else to get there is just kind of, we just need to build a strong enough bridge to get you from point A to point B, and just get there. So adding in Dana just kind of just to fill in, like, oh well, where what about her cameo? It's like we're already focused on, we don't already have Trevor, and no one cares about him, and all three of us don't care about Trevor, and we still have to have 4 Ghostbusters by the end of this. So aside from making Oscar one of the Ghostbusters, which doesn't make work time wise, like Oscar could have been Paul Rudd. And if you do like, oh yeah, my mom like brought him, although does that work time? I mean, he doesn't know, because that's 90. Yeah, it's I don't think there's a easy way that you could have transitioned to Dana story into this, considering how many other people you're dealing with and how much of a cast you're trying to write stories for, and you're still trying to, like, by the end of it, Lucky and Trevor are kind of like, okay, that's fine, you're here. Like, you need another person to help Phoebe aside from Podcast. Other than that, like,
well, Phoebe didn't need anybody but Podcast. That was pretty clear throughout. Trevor is there because Stranger Things is a big hit. That's it.
Well,
I literally feel like, well, what should we do? Well, let's write a brother so we can get him in. Okay.
To Ken's point, though,
you need 4 Ghostbusters too. So,
but for what though? Ghosts have gone away. You're only
but
big
they're
ghosts,
back.
But they're not though.
Yeah, no.
If you
plastic,
yeah, I get it. I get that.
Do you though?
Right. He's pointing to his head too.
Totally $17.99.
But
See?
No, $11.99.
Ooh.
And this guy
That's
says he's
a
not a
steal.
salesman.
Yeah.
No,
but
good sales.
But to his point about getting from point A to point B, and point B being like, hey, we want to have a franchise and sell more toy stuff. They didn't even write in the fact that they could do that.
Yeah,
like,
they did.
How are there more ghosts out?
So yes, like that's the whole thing. That's the whole point
if
of
you
the after
followed
credit
part
scenes
2
with-
as canon and didn't say like, oh, people forgot about the Ghostbusters and there haven't been ghost sightings in 35 years, and you end the movie by killing the only other ghost that's in the movie. How are there more ghosts out there?
They didn't kill them; they trapped them.
Didn't they kill her?
They trapped.
No,
ghosts.
that's why there's the whole nuclear, like, oh, we got a trap full of ghosts, and this is a nuclear, it's gonna explode. We're all
No,
gonna
I'm
die,
talking about
and
in
this man has no
Afterlife.
dick.
Yeah.
Kill ghosts. Trap.
No,
Trap
Afterlife.
ghost. Trap ghost. There's a whole field full of ghost traps.
Yeah.
Just an entire field of them.
Trapped in pieces.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm getting
Oh
confused.
shit! It's like in Resident Evil. Gozer got Resident Evil, like the laser grid. Oh, that's fucked up, man.
Or like Predator, when that one xenomorph gets cubed up.
Yeah.
Also from Paul W. Sanderson, because he's like, I want things cut into small pieces. I'm Paul W. Sanderson.
Slice and dice and slice and dice.
I'm sure there's a scene in Monster Hunter where they're like, and this is where we captured in our big net, and it cuts them into little squares.
Yeah, so cool.
Or in Event Horizon, where someone gets put into lots of little cubes. Because
sort of.
He's not exactly. He's not
Well,
that
his
original
skin's
of an
all
actor.
like cubed, like
Calm
all
down.
cut up. Remember?
Yeah, but he's
In
not actually
squares.
cubed.
That's
Calm down, baby bear.
Because that's his first time. He didn't get. He was building
Yeah,
to that.
he's pre-cubed.
Yeah.
It's like, what
It's like
if
preheating.
what if the squares went all the way through?
What a thing,
Yeah,
man.
He's working his way up. I'm just saying, like, part 2 is canon, right? And they had
Yes.
this big hoopla about all the ghosts being out there. And then you come to this movie where all the ghosts are gone. And the only other ghost in this movie you destroy.
Got destroyed.
Is she trapped?
Yes.
Okay. So you have
And
one
she's-
ghost.
Yes.
One ghost trapped.
One massive
what
ghost. So, but okay. So part of it too. Part of the thing was that Eon set up this massive network of proton packs to keep.
But those don't have ghost in it, though.
Let me finish, bro. To keep Gozer suppressed. He was trying to keep Gozer suppressed. She kept trying to surge out, and part of that network of proton packs that had set up was keeping that at bay. That's what we see the kids kind of discover when they go in there, and they're like, "Oh, okay." And eventually, when Paul Rudd gets, because they release I think Vince Clortho, I can't remember if it's Vince Clortho or Zool. They've released Zool from the trap. It then later possesses Paul Rudd, and he comes back and takes the proton stream off that pit, so then Gozer's able to come out, and that's when all the heck starts falling, coming out in town, and things all happen like Ghostbusters 1 again, to Pat's point. So all that's been released again. They trap Gozer, but all those ghosts are hypothetically not caught individually. Like, they didn't go out and catch the minor ghost. They didn't go and catch the one-eyed googly-eyed ghost from the real Ghostbusters that became into the thing. Like, all those are still out there, and that kind of seal has been broken again. So that's where things kind of go from there. Maybe the seal's been broken.
They're gonna need a lot more than 4 Ghostbusters then.
They are, but they're starting with this, and that's where this is laying the seeds for Ghostbusters after Afterlife, like Pat said.
Ghostbusters Incorporated. What are the odds they recycle Vigo? Now, I know the actor is, I know a lot happened with him. I believe he's passed now, but what are the odds we just Vigo again?
You can recast that. It'd be awesome
with deep fakes and stuff like that natodays. Like we got Luke
You don't
Skywalker
need a
back.
deep fake. You can just do a different version of him.
You can just do a different version of him, but I mean, you could also
Get
just
him at a
deep
younger
fake
age.
Vigo's
Remember,
had
he was an
facelift.
asshole all the way through.
Yeah, fair enough.
We're just gonna
catch him
like
at-
watch the story of Vigo the Carpathian, just terrorize and destroy.
Well, then
I mean,
again,
Plunder.
is this trap that they had for all the ghosts and Zool or whatnot different than their containment unit in New York, right?
It is different in the idea that it was just like 40 or so traps all networked together to activate at the same time, and then
No, but I'm
essentially-
saying the pit that had all those ghosts are different from what's in New York.
That's like a pit to hell.
right, it's more of a hellmouth
Right.
than it is. But that wasn't a containment unit. They can now take all of those 40 traps, go to the containment unit, and drop all of them off, and then piece. But here's the thing too, in my head is, if you now have Gozer broken up in 45 pieces, you wouldn't want to then reconstruct them together in one trap unit, in one containment unit, because then she'd just be back together.
No,
You should-
I'm not asking. I'm talking about the pit
Okay.
that Gozer came out of. You're saying all the potential ghosts are out of. That's in addition to the hell portal that they have in New York.
There's no hell portal in New York. The Hellmouth, which is just a term from Buffy, is just the one that Evo Shandor helped to consecrate in that town.
Okay, so in New York, what did they put Ghost in?
The containment unit.
No, but that's different, Kareem. That's the
That's
the
my point.
man-made
They're two different
containment
things,
unit.
though.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are ghosts somewhere in New York still trapped in that.
No, because the
Yes.
containment unit blew up when Walter Peck with Mr. No Dick.
They
turned
know
it
they
off.
they rebuilt it in the second movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I
So I'm
forget
saying
what's
there
canon.
are ghosts in addition to the ones that are potentially out and about, right? Like if someone were to walk into the firehouse and be like, "What's this button do?" Like Paul Rudd did, they could let out additional ghosts as well as whatever's floating around out of the pit in Nebraska, wherever they're at.
Yeah. And to your point, that was stupid of Paul Rudd to power up the trap. That seemed really dumb. But
That
he
was
still,
a Hellraiser-esque move.
that was just kind of like, well,
What's in the box? What's in the
we-
box?
We got to move this plot along. Let's start this.
What's in the box?
Not until you give me the
What's in
gun.
the fucking box?
I hit the button. Oopsies.
Yep.
But that doesn't make sense either, because there wouldn't have been one of the ghosts in there because they had already. Oh no, but it was Muncher, huh?
No,
it was the one that, remember at
No,
the very
it-
beginning of the movie, as Kin said,
But
he
had
has a
already
containment-
escaped. So how
It's one
was
of the
it
Pterodon.
still-
Escape.
No, because there's two
One
pterodons.
pterodog chased after him.
So
And one
he
was in
had
the trap.
captured both.
Yeah,
He-
he
no, he
hid
had
it under the
captured-
chair.
No, he had
Captured
captured.
one.
He captured.
Oh,
let's
he
say
hit it.
Zool.
That's right. I apologize. Yeah, okay.
That's okay.
Well, because
So
I
yeah,
don't think the
that's-
ghost could have opened the trap itself either.
Well, he also hid it underneath him. Like he hid it in the floorboards,
Yeah.
so it wasn't accessible. And then he was gonna try and taser it. He was gonna try and capture it in his field of traps, but then the power didn't work. So then he's like,
Yeah.
well, I guess I'll just have to wait here and I'll try and taser it with my new PKE meter / PKE taser. And then he got smothered. And
Which
the
is
movie-
very weird that because he decided to sit away, like looking at a fireplace away from it. I don't know what the plan
He
was there.
accepted death.
That's what I thought.
because he knew he at least had Zool trapped. So he's like, okay, I've
But
got
I'm like,
that
if you're
locked.
gonna taste something, face it.
I mean, but it's incorporeal, so it can kind of come from wherever it wants to, like a
Wait, wait,
chair.
Okay, at least look at the door that you closed.
I thought he was looking at the door that he closed, but
He's
also
facing, like,
it didn't matter.
Yeah,
I just kept
obviously
waiting for the
didn't matter.
fan to come on so that I knew that that tape deck worked really well.
That'd have been awesome if that was his trap, was to turn the
That's
fan
the
on
most
and the ghost was
80s
like,
joke I
"No!"
had. That was like the Maxwell tapes, the
Yeah,
fan because
sit
the
back.
sound's so loud. Literally the most
Grabs
80s
his
joke
glass.
I had. Fuck you guys. Right there.
Oh no, I like it, man. I was
Yeah,